Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to show you how to create a web server. Actually, I'm going to show you how easy it is to create a Linux web server on DigitalOcean. So let's get started. Here I'm in a project that I call Share Servers for a website or blog in production mode. So what you gotta do here, get started with a droplet. This will give you a couple of options to choose the operating system you want to run on your server. Choose the type of CPU you want to use depending on your application, and also the other config of the machine, how fast it is and how much memory you want, how much data you want to store. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Here we could choose this one, Ubuntu, and then have a bare clean install of Ubuntu, and then we can install all the other software that we need, such as Apache, PHP, MySQL, and all the other goodie we might need. But instead of doing that, I'm going to shorten this a bit by going to the marketplace and choose a pre-built, let's say pre-built machine with all this LAMP stack we need. If you wanted to create a server just to host WordPress sites, you could choose this option here. And if you want to make a Plesk or some Docker and so on and so on, if you also want to host other people's website, for example, if you want to have your own web hosting company, you could choose this one with a cPanel. But nevertheless, for now, this is the one I need. You can see some detail of what's coming out of the box with this install. You have Apache 2, MySQL 8, PHP 7.4, Fail2Ban, Postfix, and Certbot. You have some instruction here on how to get started, or the first things to do. As you can see, this sets the MySQL root password for you and run MySQL secure installation. You don't have to do this after when you're done installing the machine. Okay. Okay, we did our choice here on the LAMP stack. Now the CPU, just a basic CPU for general purpose. For someone who just starting or who just want to try this out, I would recommend choosing this one. If you just want a VPN, VPS for your personal blog, or maybe you're running some nodes, some node application that doesn't require a lot of memory or CPU, you could choose this one on a regular Intel with SSD, as cheap as possible. For what I intend to do now, I think this will work for me for now. And trust me, you won't be paying this $15 a month for just a brand new website that is now, let's say, popular. I don't need to add any more block storage, but you could if you maybe want to host movies. You might want to add some storage and then choose a region, a data center region. Whichever city you see here closest to you will work better for you. For me, it's New York. It's my VPN network. I also intend to use IPv6 for VPC, with a private connection between my different machines. If you have a SSH key saved, if this is your first time, you probably don't. So you might want to create a password, a root password, which I am going to do here. I'm not going to use the SSH key I already have there for this machine. Since it is just an example, I'm going to destroy this later on. So I'm going to type in a passcode here. DigitalOcean is very picky about the passcode. You have to really go hard. host name of the computer. So this is very important. You should most likely give the name of the main domain you are going to link to this machine. For me, it's going to be Muktia Online. Muktia. Okay, I don't need to enable any backup. I will do that manually, and then hit the create button. Let this run for a few seconds. It's pretty fast, and we will have our server ready. There we go. Our server is ready. That is it. That's all we had to do to create a web server. You can see here the IP address of our new machine. Since we don't have an since we don't have a domain name linked to it yet, which I am going to show you later on also, we can go ahead and navigate to the IP address to make sure we have a web server. Yeah, it is. Our server is running. Now what we're going to do is use the same IP address to log into the server. To do that, I'm going to switch to the terminal here. And now, since this is the first time we created a machine, we are going to log in also for the first time. We're going to have to use the root user. SSH. And then paste the IP address. Note here you have to type yes, YES. If you type any other character, it will be considered as a no and cancel. And it will only ask you this for the first time you log into the machine. Yes, ask for the passcode. Okay, and now we in. Our server is up and running. I will recommend running this command right here. Copy and paste it. This is what causes all this junk message to print whenever you log in. So I don't need to see this whenever I log in. Okay. The next thing to do will be to run an update. Naturally, we have 204 packages that can be upgraded. So let's do that right now. Okay, now that the update is done, the next thing is do will be to check the status of UFW, the firewall. Go ahead and clear up this screen. Let me check the list of the app supported here. See, we have OpenSSH. Let's just allow OpenSSH. Note that you have to type exactly as it appears here with a capital O and capital SSH. This will allow us to go through SSH. Now I'm going to enable it. Yes. can see here we have port 22, the limit of anywhere, the 443 TCP allowed, port area allowed, OpenSSH allowed from anywhere. This is basically all we need for a web server. Okay, now the next thing to do will be to create a sudo user, which we will use next time we log in instead of just logging in with a root user. We're going to use the add user command. I'm going to create a user named Mukhtar. Create a new passcode for Mukhtar. Type again the passcode. Full name, room number, work phone, home phone. Don't need none of this. Everything is correct. Type yes, and that's it. Now I'm going to add Mukhtar to the sudo group so that Mukhtar can run sudo commands. I'm going to use the user mode for that with the flags AG, meaning add to a group, and then we add the group name sudo and then the username Mukhtar. Now to check to see if Mukhtar is part of the sudo group, you can run the command groups and then the username. We can see here that Mukhtar is part of the group Mukhtar and sudo, so that is good. Then let's go into Mukhtar. Okay, this is Mukhtar now. Note if I try to ls in here, it will give me this error, no permission. Let me clear up the screen. But if I go sudo ls and then enter my passcode, now it shows. That means I'm a sudo user, and that's it for that. Now the other next thing to do will be to copy your SSH key so that whenever you log in into your machine, you don't have to type in a password. That will limit your liability, or that will limit the risk you are running of a middleman attack, someone intercepting your passcode along the way. So to do so, we will use the SSH copy ID command, and then we enter the username at the IP address. Let me copy it right quick again. Now enter the passcode. Note that this is the password you created for your user, for the user Mukhtar in my case. And that's it. The SSH key has been copied. Now all I need to do here is to just SSH into the machine, and it will log in automatically without asking me for a password. And yes, you can see that it is working perfectly. Now let's check our server. The dub file. You can see we have HTML folder here, which contain one file called index. This is actually the file, the page that you see when you enter your IP address in a web browser. It's this file you see here. What I'm going to do here now, I'm going to edit that